From one Texas racetrack to another. Do our little Texas two-step, and we finish it here today on the 1st of April, the 8-year anniversary of the first ever race run on the channel. We'll have to see how it all goes down here for 84 laps around this 1.5-mile racetrack in Fort Worth, Texas. This is the Interstate Batteries 500 from the Texas Motor Speedway in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and yes, this is the 8th anniversary of the first ever race run officially on this channel. 8 years ago, we ran the first ever race in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series, and Jesse Turner went to victory lane to win that first ever event. April 1st is always a very special date on the channel, and you know, it's not a joke. It is a legitimate date that is very important here for all of us here, and it's the 8th year, 8 years in, starting the 9th year of competition here on the channel here on April Fool's Day 2023. And let me tell you, we're in store for a great race here today at the Texas Motor Speedway. If you saw the Sprint Series race on Wednesday, you saw how that all went down, and the guy who apparently is starting on the pole for this one, Sam Oskin, is going to lead us to the green flag today. Won on Wednesday in the Sprint Series race and has actually won this very race before, so watch out for him. A lot of guys starting up front in this race who have not had good seasons at all. Definitely excited to see what they can do, but Josh, it's an 84-lap race, not 83 laps like I said earlier. 84 laps and 2 cycles of pit stops necessary. About a 35-lap fuel run around that point. How do you think this race is going to play out, especially considering we may end up going caution-free here today?
Well, it's going to be different than we saw in the sprint race. In the sprint race, we had the sun on the racetrack, and today it is a bit more cloudy day for the Cup race here, but we've got double the field, and I don't think that the racing is necessarily going to change drastically. I don't think they're going to be sliding around as much as they were, although they could prove me wrong. I mean, we still have this track wears tires like a cheese grater, the way Atlanta used to, so it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to look out for. It's definitely going to be different than the other Texas races we've seen, because as mentioned in the pre-race for the sprint race, this is new configuration, 20 degrees in turn 1 and 2, 24 degrees in turn 3 and 4, and we saw it happen in the sprint. They slowed up enough in 1 and 2 that you could just about run full throttle in 3 and 4. That led to some edge of your seat moments over in that corner, and so it's definitely going to be a very interesting race. Pit strategy is definitely going to come into play absolutely for these 84 laps, and if it does go caution free, your crew's got to be on it if you're going to be there at the end.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to see how that all ends up going down. We had a 2-stop race last week at COTA, and this race is long enough to warrant 2 stops as well, so it's going to be fascinating. The only 500-miler, you know, put that in quotation marks. Obviously, it's 25% of the length on a mile and a half this year. Of course, we'll have the 600 at the end of May at Charlotte, but this is really only 500-mile race on the mile and a half. So this is a bit of a special race in a way, because most of the other mile and a halves that we're going to go through the season, only the 400-mile length and 67 laps. This one's 84 laps. I didn't mention on Wednesday it was an 83-lap race, but apparently I made a slight calculating error, and I want this race to be at least 125 miles, and we're at 124.5 at 83 laps of length here at Texas, so it's an 84-lap race. That one lap could come into effect. I mean, on Wednesday, we saw Keith Drake almost surpass the 75 of Sam Oskin for the race win there, and if there was one more lap, Keith Drake probably would have won that race, so we'll just have to see if that comes into effect here today. But 84 laps, it's going to be a bit of a marathon here today. It's going to have to see how it all goes down. The ratings will definitely come into effect considering the length of today's event. In the point standings, Matt Tuck is still the points leader. He's been very strong all season long, but only the one win at Auto Club almost, 2 months ago. Maybe not 2 months ago, but a good while ago, about 6 weeks ago when he got that race victory there at the Auto Club Speedway. He comes into this race with a 5-point lead on Echo Evans-Ross, who won last week at Circuit of the Americas. She starts inside the top 10 here today. Nicholas Samedillo, 7 points behind. Great run for him this season. Thomas Troxel, 16 points behind. And Christian Master with a great run this season, although he did not have a good run at COTA last week, 24 points behind coming into this race. We're obviously seeing certain drivers run well in these races, but we have a lot of faces who have not had good runs, especially kind of, on that inside lane to start off this race. who are really deep in the point standings, starting top 10 here today. And if they can keep their cars up front, it could be very interesting to see who gets this race victory. Starting on the pole, like we mentioned earlier on, the Sprint Series race winner, Sam Oskin, who won this race in 2020 on the old configuration, going to lead us to the green flag there for Appalachian Motorsports, alongside Roberto Crown Jr. Great run for them. It has been a tough season for this team, but they have an opportunity at getting a race victory here starting on the outside pole. Zachary Fitzwater, normally he's winning races left and right. It has not been the season for him there in Everbell Motorsports, but he starts third alongside Phoenix winner Braden Perez. Trey Wright there to the inside of Justin Zidell. I know Zidell wants the race victory. His teammate's been doing an excellent job, but he's been falling back a little bit. Elijah Gordon, last in points of all the full-timers, starting alongside Seth Cole there in row number 4. And then Echo Evans-Ross, last week's winner, to the inside of LJ Semedo there in row number 5. 84 laps here to the Texas Motor Speedway. Tire wear going to be very significant. 2 pit stops. Josh, do you have any idea who's going to go to victory lane here in this Interstate Batteries 500?
Well, it's definitely going to be a tough race to pick, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm definitely going, well, not definitely, but I think I'm gonna go back about 6 or 7 rows. I'm gonna pick the 98 of Travis Crampton to go to victory lane today. I don't know, I've got a good feeling about him. He won the last time I commentated a mile-and-a-half race in this series at Las Vegas. We'll see how he does today.
It's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Will he get his second win? Will Oskin get this race win again? It's 84 laps. We're going to be here for a while, and we're green flag in the Interstate Batteries 500 at Texas. Well, how about that start for Roberto Crown Jr. and Dog Pound Incorporated? They needed that. Run on the outside lane on the first lap of this race. Zachary Fitzwater up the second, Trey Wright up the third. These top 3 drivers have not had a good season at all, and here they are running up front early on here at Texas. Sam Oskin falling back to the 4th position there. He's stuck on the outside lane. Braden Perez, Justin Zidell, 3 wide back in here. Seth Cole on the outside of Elijah Gordon, and Echo Evans-Ross. And Elijah, I know he really wants a good run here. Of course, the 2-time Cup Series champion driving for Andrews Racing. This is a home racetrack for Andrews Racing, just like your team, Josh, in Trinity River Racing, and your driver there running third with Trey Wright.
And Trey Wright right there in behind the all-time great Zachary Fitzwater, who is now going to go down to the inside of the 9 into that 3rd turn. Again, mentioned they're almost running full throttle in turn 3 and 4 of the way the configuration is, and Wright's going to get around to the 2nd position. That slows Fitzwater up enough. Here comes Oskin down to the inside, and Braden Perez down to the inside of Zidell, bringing last week's winner Echo Evans-Ross with him down low.
Yeah, and these guys are really powering it down in the turn number 1, hitting speeds almost 200 miles per hour early on in the run, but as these tires wear out, they will slow down. About a 2.5-3 second fall off per lap near the end of the run, and like I said, about a 30-35 lap fuel run for these guys. And of course, they will definitely be getting tires. How about Andrews Racing? They have not had a good season at all, but both of their drivers here inside the top 10. Elijah Gordon, Ladovic Charette there on that inside lane, and it's fitting that their home track, they're having the most success they have had all season long. Seth Cole up here, Fisher G, Eric Monaco. A lot of guys up here that have not had good seasons, which is interesting considering the way we've seen these races play out, as Trey Wright to the inside of Roberto Crown Jr. for the race lead. Fitzwater and Oskin going after it behind him, but Trey Wright taking it away from the 28. He's going to lead lap number 5.
Usually we'd see the 82 up here, but Trey Wright is flying the banner high for Trinity River Racing. Moved up 3 spots after Circuit of the Americas. Looking to have another good run in the Lone Star State, as Roberto Crown Jr. slides into the 2nd position. Fitzwater up to 3rd on the backside of that 21. Echo Evans-Ross to 4th, and the 71 of LJ Semedo in behind. It's Oskin Perez in behind them, as we've singled out through the first few positions. Never mind, here goes Perez down to the inside of Oskin.
And Braden Perez looking to get his 2nd win of the season. Got the race victory at Phoenix. Kind of stole that one away from Matt Tuck and good opportunity for him and Williams Racing. How about Echo Evans-Ross, even though she's under fire right now from LJ Semedo. And LJ Semedo's had a solid season. He's had a lot of good runs, coming into this race. Had a great run at Auto Club, had a great run at Rockingham. Couldn't pull it off at either of those places, but considering, a lot of those guys he was battling with in those races are not really up front at this point, he might have a good opportunity at getting the race victory here today if he can get out front there for Titan Fury Racing. Definitely one of the stronger drivers of the season as he comes into this race 12th in the points. Echo Evans-Ross, she's second in the points right now in the Wawa Cup Series coming into this race, running top 5 there for Hamill Racing Enterprises, and she's going to go to the inside there for 4. The battle between those two drivers. Braden Perez right behind them, and side by side here, you're going to see LJ Semedo kind of lose the grip off the exit of turn 4, and Perez going to take that position away from the 71. I got to give a huge shout out to Zachary Fitzwater here today. Great run for him so far. He's been able to keep that ride inside the top 5 so far. Roberto Crown Jr. trying to hang on to a top 5 run as well. But Trey Wright leading this field in the 28 machine. Definitely great to see these guys run up front. But I think as this race goes along, we're going to see certain drivers move their way through the field. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes down. Sam Badillo kind of midway through. Matt Tuck, don't know where he is. He's not having a good run here today. That 54 machine all the way down to 33rd right now. Not exactly the best place to be, and your pick to win there, Travis Crampton falling behind, and Troxel's won a race this season. They're all over the place right now, and I thought we were beginning to see a bit of a pattern, especially with certain drivers, and Echo Evans-Ross is definitely one of those drivers who has had a good run this season, and she's up front, but a lot of these other guys who have won races this season have not really shown much speed yet here at Texas, and it's going to be fascinating to see if they find themselves up front in this race, especially if this race stays green.
We've seen great parity so far this season. Travis Crampton, a guy who I thought was going to have a good run, given that he won at Las Vegas the last time I was in the booth for a 1.5 mile race. He slipped back. Oh my goodness! Echo Evans-Ross, a massive dive bomb on Roberto Crown Jr., and now might go for the lead on Trey Wright. Incredible stuff.
That 39 is a bit speedy right now, no doubt about it. They had a really good run at COTA last week. A bit of a checkup, though, into the corner, and Trey Wright going to power on the outside, and I think he's going to clear the 39. Interesting move right there. But Echo Evans-Ross kind of won that race at COTA on strategy. She really pulled a long run at the end to keep that 39 out front to get the race victory, but it'll be interesting to see if she can hold on to something here at Texas. LJ Semedo's been doing a great job moving through the field. Fitzwater starting to slip back just a little bit in the number 9. Seth Cole inside the top 10. Fisher G, Sam Oskin, and Ludovic Charette the top 10 right now. So I'm intrigued to see guys like Troxel and guys like Matt Tuck. I mean, those are two guys who have really been awesome closers this season. Really good drivers near the end of these races. It's going to be fascinating to see if they end up being a factor near the end. I got to give a shout out here as well to Cameron Gaju, driving for your team as well in the Sprint Series. He drove the Sprint Series race on Wednesday. And Cameron Gaju, if you've been around on the channel, like I said, this is the 8-year anniversary of the first ever race run. And Cameron Gaju was in that first ever race 8 years ago. Nicholas Samadillo was not. We have a couple of guys like Zachary Fitzwater who was in that race too, but not many guys who have been around that long. But Gaju is one of them. And here he is, running pretty well there as a Sprint Series driver, and of course Sam Oskin as well. But great to see Gaju. He's won multiple times in the Cup Series before his first start in the Wawa Cup Series this season. He's doing an excellent job there for Trinity River Racing. It's calmed down pretty well, but I think we're starting to see the tire wear come into effect. But how about your driver Trey Wright holding these guys off here in the Interstate Batteries 500?
Definitely doing a wonderful job so far, pacing the field. Here's Perez going down to the inside of the 71 of LJ Semedo. And Semedo's looks like he's going to get the run on the outside for the moment, but Perez going to draw it back even with him side by side through the quad oval and dead even at the line. LJ Semedo third at the line that time through. Perez dives it back in, but Semedo back on the outside. He's going to hold on to that third position.
Yeah, there's some grip there on that outside lane in turns 1 and 2, and Semedo, we saw this move be made a little bit in the Sprint Series race where you get that run on the outside of 1 and 2 and then dive down the backstretch in the 3 and 4. But Semedo was unable to get to the inside of Echo Evans-Ross. She got a great run there off the exit of turn number 4 and hanging with this 28 of Trey Wright. We have to see if the 39 can have any advantage here on the 28 as this race goes along. And you know, you mentioned you thought you almost saw a caution the other day. The way they check up off the exit at turn 2 right there, because the grip on these tires really wears out. It almost looks like they're slowing down for a caution. That'd be the place they would slow down if we were to end up with a caution. And I saw him kind of jam up right there, and Echo Evans-Ross took advantage of it, and now she's going to finally take the race lead away. But LJ Sameto's right there on the back bumper of the 39. We'll have to see if Sameto gets it done here on Echo Evans-Ross. Not going to be able to do so quite yet. Braden Perez and now Zachary Fitzwater looking to make a move here on Trey Wright as Wright falls back on the outside lane. So Echo Evans-Ross looking to go 2 in a row. Looking to sweep the Texas two-step here in the Wawa Cup Series. We have to see if she can pull it off here. She's got a great car underneath of her, I feel like, but LJ Sameto does as well, and Sameto right there. These guys are close. I want to go back through the field and see what's going on behind these guys, but I'm telling you, we got a good lead battle going on here 19 laps into this Interstate Batteries 500.
Top 4 pressed together like an accordion. It's LJ Sameto in second, Perez third, Wright fourth, Fitzwater fifth, and Seth Cole working his way up there in the Hershey's number 82. Haven't talked about him at all yet this race. He slipped back early, and now he's on his way back up. Cole coming in 8th in the championship standings. Lost a couple of spots after Coda 1 week ago, and here comes right down to the inside of Braden Perez. The 28 and 23 side by side. It'll be Perez, the Phoenix winner, flying around the outside like a fighter jet and holding on to that third position. Here's Cole down to the inside of Zachary Fitzwater.
Good run here for Seth Cole. I want to point out Drew Webb. He's moved himself into the top 10, now running 8th there, and that's the teammate to LJ Sameto. So Nick Arboretto's put some good cars on the racetrack for his team here today. Fisher G holding on to a top 10. He's also had a really tough season there for Hairgel Motorsports, running in the 9th position, and Sam Adoskin holding on to this top 10 run right now. And it's generally, we've not really seen, you know, guys like Troxel, guys like Matt Tuck move through the field very well. Got some guys in the back here. Aliera won at Homestead earlier this season, and she's deep in the field. And you got guys kind of in the back. You know, Fitzwater's doing well, but his teammate Laura Chung currently running in the last position right now. Kukulon's in the back. Andrew Miller had a great run at Coda, but he's deep in the field right now. And Vincent left also back here as well. And Christian Master, this is a guy who's top 5 in points. Another poor run for him here as he's outside the top 30 right now in that 43 machine. As, hey, we did it. We did it. We did it again. You saw that in the corner of your screen. LJ Sameto takes it away from Echo Evans-Ross, and now Sameto pacing this field here at Texas. And we're only a quarter of the way through this race now, so a long ways left to go here at Texas, and we still got 2 more cycles of pit stops, 2 cycles of pit stops left to go here in this race.
By the way, Echo Evans-Ross, I believe where she is right now on the racetrack, in relation to Matt Tuck, she's in position to take the points lead if things continue the way they are right now. But LJ Sameto coming in 52 points back of Matt Tuck. Actually, is 12th in the championship standings. I thought for a second he was tied with Christian Vargas. They're 1 point apart. Vargas is 167, Sameto 166. And Sameto has no wins on the season. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He's looking to have a tremendous run here at Texas Motor Speedway. He's looked pretty good so far. Let's see where he ends up after these two pit stops. It's been caution free so far. I wouldn't be surprised if it went this way the rest of the way.
It's a long race, 126 miles here today to be exact, and that's a long ways to go without a caution. But these guys, they find a rhythm around this racetrack. And mentioned Josh here. He actually was the one who worked on the I&I for this specific track to get what you're seeing here today. So a huge thanks to Josh, of course, for putting all that work in, and I didn't have to do anything to do it, so that's awesome. It was a win-win for me. I got a great track and didn't have to put any work in for it. But hey, huge thanks to you, Josh, of course, for all the hard work you did putting together this I&I for this version of the racetrack. And of course, I believe this is a BBMC version of Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
It's actually a reskin of a Torch 1 version, I believe.
There you go. I want to credit the right people for that. They do an excellent job creating all the stuff for this game. Seth Cole,
my mistake. It's a reskin of an NR Track Designs version. This is a reskin of 2017.
Regardless of the fact, it's a great track. We're having a great race here today, 26 laps. And now one thing I would like to mention, we're closing in on green flag pit stops. commitment line violations may be a factor here. This is something I noticed in testing. A couple guys came down the pit lane a little too aggressively, kind of shot through the grass there. No contact was really made, but if you miss that commitment line, you do get penalized for it. And that's something to watch out for if you're any of these drivers, of course. Especially if you're getting past here. I got to give a lot of credit, again, to Drew Webb. He's moving through the field very well, up to 6th now as he gets around Roberto Crown Jr. Great run for the 99. And Drew's a guy who has been starting in front in a lot of these races, but have not been able to close the race out. Might be the opposite for him here today. Trey Wright on Braden Perez right here. And I see damage on Echo Evans Ross. I'm not sure if I don't think I did. I was probably just playing tricks on me right there. And yeah, it was. I was just looking at the diffuser on the back of that car there, and I guess I'm just not used to seeing that yet, so never mind what it said right there. Hey, how about the other Webb? Brian Webb now up to the top 10 as Fitzwater's fallen back a little bit. Blaine Key's kind of creeping into the top 10. Now, the way this race is going to play out, we could easily see someone who's currently 11th through 20th gift this race victory, especially considering that Troxel and Matt Tuck and Nicholas Samedeo are all up here. Of course, those are 3 guys who are top 4 in points. And, you know, they could definitely find themselves up front the longer this race goes. I think this longer race is going to favor those who have stronger ratings over others. And it's going to be interesting to see if those guys in particular move up. Drew Webb on Trey Wright. Ooh, that was a bit edgy right there. And Drew Webb kind of pushed right up the racetrack as Echo Evans Ross going to start the cycle here. So I said about 30 laps. This is going to be interesting here because she's the first one down. A couple guys back behind also coming down. Rogel Dorn, Crampton, and a lot of guys in the back. Logan Williams, Trinity Ida, Christian Master. So we'll see if this 39 gets an advantage. It'll obviously be a 2-tire stop for these, or excuse me, a 4-tire stop for these guys. Because even though it may be a little bit hard to tell, you know, these guys are definitely going 2.5, 3 seconds slower than their fastest laps of the race. LJ Sameto's going to come down right here. Braden Perez, Seth Cole, and the first cycle is underway here. And watch out for some of these guys possibly coming down an unsafe entry onto the pit lane. But it looks like most of these guys have kind of single-filed out, which I think has helped. It's when you get that double wide as Vincent Leff runs into Andrew Miller. Jim Vincent Leff had a great run at Rockingham in the Wawa Cup Series, but not going to be a good run for him here today as Blaine Keys goes for the race lead, but these guys are going to come down right here. And Mardi Gras, Troxel, Stover, Matthews, Paulus Jr., Parton, Reynolds, and Laura Chung have yet to come down. And here's Echo Evans Raw. She's off the pit lane there in the number 39. So everyone has come down. And we'll see who wins the race off of these guys. It will be LJ Sameto who won the race off, who came down first, I should say, and he'll win the race off. We'll probably be seeing this 39, though, maybe making a pass here for the race lead. It's going to be a bit tight here for Echo Evans Ross and LJ Sameto. But I think the 39 is going to get it done. Now, with that being said, I think as this run goes along, the tire wear might favor Sameto and Perez. Rogel Dorn, he's going to get a really good run here out of this one and surpass Braden Perez. And we'll have to see if these guys here, I know Troxel is one of these guys who was down the pit lane with these guys, Fisher G, Blaine Keys, Brady Mardi Gras. They're all going to be easily surpassed by the 39 here, who is way out front, but LJ Sameto, I think, might close in. And now we've got ourselves a spread-out race. And that's what I was talking about when I'm saying the ratings might really come into play here today. How about Rogel Dorn, though? Great strategy there. Moving himself up to 3rd. Perez there, and how about Crampton gaining some time there on the 98, I think. Only unless he's a lap down. We'll have to wait for it all to cycle through here, as I think we finally got to that point. Echo Evans Ross out front, LJ Sameto, Rogel Dorn there, Braden Perez, and Travis Crampton up to 5th. And you know what? Now that Crampton's in this position, which I don't know how he got up to this position, he might be a threat to win this race. Obviously won in Las Vegas, and definitely a lot the similarities from that track to this one. He could have a shot at this one. Brian Webb, Seth Cole up here, Drew Webb there, Logan Williams with a great jump there. Those guys who came in early, and Crampton was one of those guys who came in early, like Rogel Dorn and like Echo Evans Ross. That one extra lap really came into effect, and they gained a lot of time and moved up through the field very well. And that's going to be interesting to see if they could possibly steal a race victory because of that strategy.
Yeah, their tires rubbered in a lap ahead of everybody else as they were the first ones to come down. That, and they got a head start on everyone else who was still slow coming out of the pit road. It is a very, very slow entry into the pits here at Texas Motor Speedway, and Echo Evans Ross, use that to their advantage to overtake the 71 through that pit cycle. But Rogel Dorn, a guy who we hadn't talked about all day, is now chasing down that 71. It's a 1.2 second difference from first to second between Echo Evans Ross and LJ Semedo. And then it's another 1.46 from Rogel Dorn back to fourth place Perez. And then this Hornet's Nest for fifth, now with the 13 of Brian Webb leading this group with Drew Webb all over the back bumper.
The Webb and Webb show back here for fifth place. Both Webbs doing an excellent job here today. Travis Crampton, Logan Williams, Seth Cole there. Blanky's just outside the top 10 in 11th. So, my key guys that we've seen this season, Troxel and Matt Tuck, still kind of mired midway through the field. Roberto Crown Jr., they started outside pole, and unfortunately they've fallen back a little bit in that 21 machine. Still holding on to a top 20 at the moment. And Semedo's closing on Echo Evans Ross. And Echo almost got... Oh, caution on the racetrack here at Texas. What do we got? Someone went around Fisher G. And Christian Master and Brady Mardi Gras and Cameron Gaju and Roberto Crown Jr. again.
Major crash.
They can't catch a break for anything. My goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
And it looks like, I'm not sure how this all transpired. That's such a tough break there for Cameron Gaju in the 83. Definitely had a good run. Brady Mardi Gras. Fisher G was running top 10 when this happened, and I'm wondering if someone blew up, and with the high speeds these guys were running, they just could not get around and avoid. Christian Master all torn up. He's going to fall further back in the points. Brady Mardi Gras caught up as well, and Cameron Gaju, his day is done. This is going to be interesting. See if anyone splits a strategy here. Echo Evans Ross going to lead him down. And, oh, yeah. Look at Team Williams there. Both of Andrew Williams' cars right there staying out. Blaine Keys as well. It's a one-stopper for everybody at this point, even with these guys coming down with a 30-lap fuel run. We still got ourselves over 40 laps to go in this race, so these guys cannot make it to the end, even with this stop. We'll see who wins the race off here. We'll see if they take tires. Now, that may be the strategy for these guys, taking those 4 sets of tires. They technically have unlimited tires, so they don't have to worry about any of that. And 2 stops, 2 tires there for Echo Evans Ross. He's got to be careful here with Ozkin, who's trying to get into his pit lane.
Whoa!
And that's not going to be good for the 75, who was blocked in. Kind of slid in there. We'll have to see if that affects Echo at all, because she may have gained a bit of damage from that. A few guys, actually quite a few guys stayed out here. So this is going to be very fascinating, because these guys are going to have an advantage on everybody ahead of them. They all took tires. And everyone still has to make one stop in this race. Braden Perez out front here at Texas with Brian Webb, Blaine Keys, Brad Stover, Eric Monaco, Ladovic Charette, Christian Vargas, Dylan Matthews, Chase Buck, Joey Hightower, Chris Reynolds, Aliera, Daniel Paula Sr., Sebastian Kukalon, Jim Vincent and Laura Chung. That's a lot of guys. That's about 12 guys who stayed out, and then Echo Evans Ross first off the pit lane with 2 tires. So they're not going to be miraculously faster than these guys. They only ran a few laps on what they have, but they will be faster with those 2 tires, and they're going to try to have an advantage here as this run goes along. Didn't think we'd get a caution today, but we got one. About midway through the race here in the Interstate Batteries 500, let's see what happened to bring up the caution. Fisher G, Christian Master, Roberto Crown Jr. There's some of the names getting caught up in this one here from the Texas Motor Speedway. This was no engine failure. This was a true wreck in the turn 1. Fisher G in the 37. Not a good line, and Blaine Keys was like, buddy, I got that inside lane on you, and Keys sends that 37 flying into the outside wall. And because of the lower banking, it's a lot harder to control it there. And, yeah, unfortunately, Fisher G's not the only one that gets caught up in this one. Christian Master, absolutely nowhere to go. Brady Mardi Gras with a piece of it, and Cameron Gaju just pounds that 37. And then Roberto Crown Jr. in the 21. They're on the outside lane here, and they also have nowhere to go when Fisher G comes back down. They sideswipe the 37. It's such a tough break for him. I feel bad for Roberto Crown Jr. It's just one thing after another. One of these teams that just can't seem to get anything to go their way, and that's what happened. They say everything's bigger in Texas. We had some pretty big hits there in turn number 2.
So here again, heading off to turn number 1, this time at full speed. Keys on the inside, just got run out of room by G, and goodness gracious, those are some hard hits on the outside. But Keys threw it down the inside. It looked like, I don't know, either G forced him down or Keys had a late dive bomb, but either way, it has resulted in several cars getting damaged over in the turn 1 and 2 area. I think about 4 are going to fall out as a result of this incident, but Echo Evans Ross led the field back around to the caution flag, and obviously we've already seen how pit stops played out.
It's going to be interesting to see because we got 16 drivers who stayed out here. Now, Echo Evans Ross won the race off the pit lane, but they all kind of took 2 tires there on the stop, so they might not be flying through the field real quick. And I'm going to mention this later on as well. Those drivers who stayed out, once they come down for their pit stop, they're good to go, and they're going to have the faster tires because they're going to pit before the guys who came down here, and they're going to be gaining a big advantage on those fresher tires once that last pit stop occurs. So it's going to be fascinating to see who gets it done in that regard. Braden Perez leads the field. We'll see what he does on the restart here in the Interstate Batteries 500 from Texas. We're back here at the Texas Motor Speedway Interstate Batteries 500 in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series. Things just got a bit interesting here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Everyone still has one more stop left to go in this race, but 16 drivers stayed out under this caution, while everybody else who was not involved in the wreck came down for 2 tires, so it's going to be fascinating to see if Echo Evans Ross, who is going to restart in the 17th position, can work her way up past these 16 cars before the cycle begins. Braden Perez is out front. Brian Webb, Blaine Keys, Brad Stover, and Eric Monaco, the top 5. And all these guys, all the way to Laura Chung, stayed out under this caution, and Echo Evans Ross was the first driver off with Sameto, Rogaldorn, Travis Crampton, and Drew Webb, guys who came down. So we got 2 separate cycles of strategy now. It's a lot like COTA was last week. We had like 3 different cycles going on. It'll be interesting to see how that all ends up shaking out. Drivers out of the race include Roberto Crown Jr., Fisher G, Christian Master, and Cameron Gaju. Both Master and Gaju ran the first ever race 8 years ago, both taken out there on lap 38. Back underway. Next time by, we'll be halfway to the Interstate Batteries 500. Great jump for Perez and Brian Webb and all these guys. See how well this 39 does. Oh, well, she's not going to do too well if Sameto gets around her. But these guys kind of stuck behind these slower cars. Laura Chung, Jim Vinceloff have been in the back of the field pretty much this entire race, and they're not quite up to speed like those other guys. So, going to be a fascinating battle there, but we'll focus on the actual race lead, and Braden Perez is out of here. Here comes Blaine Keys, Eric Monaco trying to work the inside lane. Got Christian Vargas, Brad Stover here, so many different drivers up front. I mean, Perez has been up front a majority of this race, and he just chose to stay out. Kind of same with Brian Webb, he was starting to close in. But a lot of these guys kind of who stayed out have not been running up front, and here they are doing a pretty good job right now trying to hold on to their respective positions, and I don't think any of these guys have gotten around. Logan Williams came down, LJ Sameto, they've not gotten around Vincent left yet, and definitely going to be fascinating to see if this strategy ends up working out for him.
Absolutely will be. Vincent gets shuffled along the outside. LJ Sameto tucked in behind the 91 of Laura Chung. The 52 of Sebastian Kukulon just ahead of him. The accordion again on the inside. Thomas Truxell just the tail end of that line, and behind Logan Williams, Echo Evans Russ with Rogel Dorn in behind her. Cuts down in front of Trey Wright. Tucks in behind fellow Toyota compatriots Seth Cole. And now there's my pick on the outside, Travis Crampton, getting shuffled along the outside once again. Looked like he was going to have something go right for him when he came out 5th from that other pit cycle, and then the caution came out, and it's really made everything topsy-turvy here up front. It is Braden Perez and Brian Webb side by side, and Blaine Keys, the Smooth Fest winner, in the 3rd position, trying to make it a 3-car battle.
Yeah, Braden Perez trying to hold off his teammate Brian Webb. I'm sure Andrew Williams is loving this. 1-2 right now for the Dodge team. And I don't know who led that lap. Brian Webb's going to get a bonus point towards the championship right there as he officially leads that lap. Blaine Keys trying to get something to go his way. These guys going side by side still. They've been side by side for over a lap here. I love this track now. I mean, this track is really good in the game. I wish it was like this in real life, but, you know how that is. And I gotta give a lot of credit to you, Josh. You knew what you were doing when messing with this I&I. Perez gonna finally lose the outside, though, and Blaine Keys coming in the 55. This 55 of Blaine Keys has had such a tough season after winning the Millie Smooth Fest. Finally got the first top 10 of the season last week at COTA, but I'll tell you, I expected a lot more out of Blaine Keys this season, especially after winning that Millie Smooth Fest back in early February 2 months ago. But the points-paying races have not been friendly to him at all. 23rd in points, though, right now, if they're a good run. And if he can build up these runs in these last 13 races before the chase begins, he could have a shot at going for a title later on in the summer. Brad Stover up here, and now we're seeing LJ Semedo kind of slice through this field, and Thomas Trotz are doing the same thing with Echo Evans Ross. They're kind of all here, starting to really hound down these guys. They're behind Joey Hightower right now, and they're inside the top 10. Semedo and Troxel are at least, and Evans Ross there in the 12th position. So it's going to be fascinating. These guys here, Brian Webb, Brain Perez, Blaine Keys, and Eric Monaco, they're going to have to come down before those guys. So they're going to be gaining some time, especially if this thing stays green, and they could end up cycling through to the lead at the end. That may have been the strategy call for these guys, because if they come down later, they're going to lose some time there to the guys who have already come down, made that stop, because like I said, 2.5, 3 second fall off per lap. You know, if you're gaining that near the end of a run, you might have a clear advantage on guys who can make it later on, who are going to be on those tires for a lot longer than you are. Hopefully you're following what I'm saying, but like I said, those who come in earlier are going to have the faster tires earlier, and they're going to be gaining on the guys who stay out on the worn tires, because they're going to be worn by the time they get to the end of the run. And LJ Semedo doing all he can to really move through this field as best he can. Echo Evans Ross, she's kind of struggling here to really find her rhythm. Oh boy! And this is the disadvantage of drivers who took tires and drivers who didn't take tires. Joey Hightower did not take tires, and a lot of these guys behind him did. That is Keith Drake in the 56. Made his first ever start in the Wawa Sprint Series on Wednesday. There might be something wrong with Hightower here. This 24, he's just not been able to get anything go his way on these mile and a halves this season, but he's kind of holding these guys up here, and they're all trying to scramble around him as he is really starting to lose the grip on the tires of that 24 machine. But Keith Drake, his first ever Cup start here, and he's really getting a lesson here, trying to get around Joey Hightower, the Texas Motor Speedway. Lots of shuffling all over the place, but these guys, LJ Semedo creeping up into the picture. How about Appalachian Motorsports, Logan Williams and Nicholas Samedeo? They won the sprint race with Sam and Oskin on Wednesday, and here they are moving their way through the field here. Lap 52 of 84. Texas still over 30 laps to go in this race, and Brian Webb out front.
But for how much longer as Perez tries to close in the 48 of Brad Stover in that third position, tucked in behind the 23, and a major battle going on back for the 6th position on back as Perez has caught up to the 13, and here he goes to the inside for the race lead here at Texas Motor Speedway, and Perez is going to make it look easy on the inside of Brian Webb.
Here comes Brad Stover. Great run for Brad Stover in this race. It's been an interesting season for him. 14th in points. You know, he's been quietly decent this year there for Trackhouse Racing. And he's got an opportunity right here in this 48 machine to get something to go his way. How about Logan Williams? You know, Logan Williams, you know, we talked at the early part of this race, you know, had a lot of guys starting up front who have not had good seasons. Well, this is another guy. He's 33rd in points. He's only 4 points ahead of Jim Vincenleff in the points standings. And Vincenleff is a Sprint Series driver who has gained all those points in these Cup races. And Williams about to be the first driver in line of the guys who came down as Brian Webb got stuck in that outside lane, and he's now falling back. The tires went away on that 13. And once these guys start hounding him, he's just going to fall back just like Hightower did earlier on there. And now Williams in the position, but Troxel is here in the 62. And I think Zachary Fitzwater also on that same strategy with a 2-tire stop. They're definitely moving their way through the field very well. So this whole race is completely turned over on its head. We had Echo Evans Ross kind of dominate early on, but now she's kind of mired in the back, and now even Semedo losing a lot of ground, and these guys getting held up by the guys who are on these worn tires. If we get Williams or Troxel, for that matter, to get the race lead, they're going to be out of here in just a few laps. But even they only took 2 tires. Their tires are going to start falling off here soon as well. And then everyone's going to be on that same pace, basically, with one more stop in the race. So Gonna be interesting to see how it all goes down. Troxel makes the move on Williams, but Williams has a clear racetrack ahead of him on that outside. Not enough of a run on that outside lane, and Trey Wright will get out of the way, and Williams gonna fall back now. How about Fitzy in this 9? I know Fitzwater wants to get his 28th career win on the channel. 27th career win on the channel. He's yet to win this year, by the way, on the channel, so he's one of 2 drivers who have won in every year of competition on the channel. I'm sure he wants to keep that streak alive, he along with Nicholas Samadillo. Braden Perez still out front, Brad Stover, Blaine Keys, but Troxel now up to 4th. And he closed it in at Rockingham 2 weeks ago. Will he do it again here at Texas? Now that he's in position, he may have a good opportunity at this race win.
He comes in 4th in the championship standing, 16 points behind Matt Tuck. Matt Tuck is mired back in traffic, and if Troxel keeps doing what he's doing, and Samadillo the same, he comes in 7 behind. They'll be able to pick up a bunch of points on Matt Tuck, and even Echo Evans Ross, who's mired back in traffic. Blaine Keys down to the inside of Stover, and Troxel going to follow in behind the Smooth Fest winner. Zachary Fitzwater in behind that 62. Could be some big help heading off into turn number 1. Troxel taking a look down to the inside. Keys goes for the defensive line, and they'll try to catch up to the 23 of Perez. Looks like the gap may have shrunk a little bit going through 1 and 2. But Perez hanging steady up front as Fitzwater tries to get to the inside. He's going to boot, scoot, and boogie down to the inside of Thomas Troxel out of turn number 4 and into the final podium spot goes Zachary Fitzwater.
And Troxel really had the check up there in that outside lane, and now Fitzwater, the guy in the position, those guys who took tires, but Troxel going to get that outside lane to go his way. Look at that run there. Look at Blaine Keys. They're just all bunched up behind Perez, who's on those worn tires, and Blaine Keys for that matter, and I think they're going to be coming down here. Going to run on that outside lane. They got to be careful here.
Oh,
Blaine
yeah.
Keys and Braden Perez as Zachary Fitzwater. Actually, just Perez came down. Just Perez in the 23. He was the race leader when he came down the pit lane. Make sure everyone got through it okay. Of course, we're not seeing the caution lights in the catch fence, which is good. But Perez, Brian Webb, Jim Vincent left down. We'll expect Blaine Keys to come down next time by. Trey Wright up here, Chase Buck. Fitzwater and Trey Wright have had an excellent race. They've had terrible seasons. Fitzwater, actually Trey Wright's 19th in points. Who am I kidding? He's actually had a pretty decent season. But Fitzwater, 30th in points coming into this race. And they've done an excellent job here today. Blaine Keys, though, he's kind of holding off here and still out there as more guys come down the pit lane. We had Ludovic Charette and Sebastian Kukul on. It's only a matter of time before Fitzwater does get around this 55, whether it be because Keys comes down or not, but we'll just have to see if these guys have an advantage. Braden Perez, Blaine Keys could be at the advantage here, and I think the 55 is finally coming down. And Chase Buck is also coming down here. I'm wondering if the strategy may be evening out a little bit. I thought Chase Buck... Yeah, you know what? Chase Buck, I think he did stay out. I'm pretty sure Chase Buck stayed out. Dylan Matthews, Brad Stover, and mainly everybody else coming down right there. So now Fitzwater out front and ahead. Trey right there. And you got a battle here between Sam Medeo and Seth Cole. And now all of a sudden, Echo Evans Ross is kind of peeking towards the front again. She got mired back in traffic, but she's still very much in this thing. So is LJ Cimento. So are all of these guys. They didn't really pull away from one another. And because of that, they're all right here with an opportunity at possibly getting this race victory. Now, what these guys want is a caution, because that's going to lap all these guys who are getting an advantage on them right now. Blaine Keys, Chase Buck, Braden Perez in the 23 machine as well. Actually, Perez did not get a good run there, I don't think. He's a little ways behind those guys. Either that or the cycle has just not completely gone through. Actually, Perez, never mind. Perez did get an advantage. And of these guys who have made their final stop of the race, Braden Perez is leading them in the 23 with Brian Webb not too far behind. So that's a battle to watch out for as this race goes along. It could definitely get interesting because that could be for the race win. The big question is, how long will these guys stretch it? Because depending on how long they can stretch it, they may only go fuel only or 2 tires. It's going to be fascinating. Just don't quite know what's going to happen quite yet in this race, but the cream is starting to rise to the top with Sam Medeo, Seth Cole, Troxel, Evans Ross inside the top 10 right now with under 20 laps to go, but they're led by the legend himself. Best driver in NR2003 offline, Zachary Fitzwater holding on to the race lead right now here in lap 66 at Texas.
But a big run by Trey Wright in the second position, out of 2, down the back straightaway. Truxell down to the inside of Seth Cole. That is for the 4th position for the time being. He'll make it maybe look easy on the 82. He's not going to make it look easy at all as Cole fires it back on the outside. But it will be Truxell getting around that 82. Seth Cole tried to throw it down on the outside of 3 and 4. Truxell got the exit going well. San Mateo into the 3rd position. He's 3rd on the racetrack, and he's 3rd in points. Truxell's 4th on the racetrack, and he's 4th in points coming into this race. And, well, the points leader, Matt Tuck, is now running in the 9th position. All things considered, they could still eat into his points lead a little bit. Tuck has not led any laps in this race, I don't believe. So,
no, he is
not any bonus. Not any bonus points to worry about, so what positions they're in right now is how many points they would gain on that 54, as here comes Truxell down to the inside of Mr. Edge, trying to get the edge on Mr. Edge going through turn 2, not able to. The tires are really worn on the drivers at the front of the field right now.
San Mateo now getting an advantage here on the 28. Meanwhile, I'm going to see how well this 23 is doing. Braden Perez. That's not good for him, as he had to check up because these guys were coming down. I did not know that was going to happen. These guys are so much faster than these guys who have yet to take tires, and because of that, they have to be careful not to get involved in an accident. But Brian Webb is now the driver in position if it stays green, and that's a big if the way it's going right now, because these guys are closing in like crazy, and they just gotta be careful. That closing rate coming down the pit lane. Meanwhile, Fitzwater, I think, is still out there, as we have a lot of these guys. No, he's not. Fitzwater coming down the pit lane. Here we go. What is the call gonna be? I'm gonna follow with this 9 machine here. Brian Webb's already back on the lead lap, I think. Yeah, he is in the 13 machine. And he's going to be coming around here with a full head of steam on Fitzwater. And I don't know if these guys are going to be able to have enough, especially if they go with a 4-tire stop.
I would imagine they'd go for 2 and a splash of fuel this time through.
They're going for
it. Does not look like it's going to be the case. And
I mean, both sides. Really lucky. Both sides of the tires are completely worn out, and that is wow. That is not going to work out for those guys who came down under that caution. They had the wrong strategy, and now Brian Webb in position, but Blaine Keys there in 2nd, and then Braden Perez, Chase Buck, Brad Stover, the top 5. Actually, Vincent Leff, I think, is up here right now in the 07. A topsy-turvy race for him. There's no way that Fitzwater is going to have an opportunity now, I don't think, because he's going to be a little ways behind after that one. San Mateo actually winning the race off of those guys, but with how many laps are left, we see across the line, Nicholas San Mateo is 15 seconds off the race lead. I don't think he's going to gain a second a lap on these guys. So here we go. This is the battle for the race win. Brian Webb and Blaine Keys. And they stayed out under that caution, and that might be what gives them the race victory. Chase Buck is here, and through all of that, you know what? I hate to break it to you, man. Travis Crampton's a lap down in the 98, and so is Brady Mardi Gras. But Blaine Keys isn't. And there he goes to the inside for the race lead on lap 72. But Brian Webb going to try to hold this outside lane. Chase Buck is here as well for Pacific Racing. And Chase Buck has been pretty strong this season. 7th in the points standings. And a great opportunity for him. He's now up to the 2nd position here at Texas. Will he be able to get to this 55 of Blaine Keys and get the race victory in the Interstate Batteries 500? Close in here on San Mateo. And he is now 13 seconds behind. Oh, this could get interesting. You know, he may be going a bit faster here, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to get all the way up to the front of this pack. Blaine Keys still holding on in the 55. This would be a huge win for him. And Dracoan Racing Enterprises, after not even getting a top 10 until last week at COTA, he could pull off the race victory here at Texas. Crampton is significantly faster than him. And this 98 is going to get around 12.3 seconds for San Mateo. And you got to think San Mateo's got to get around all these guys too. He's the first driver who pitted with that strategy, came down the pit lane there in the 17th position. All 16 guys who actually stayed out are significantly ahead of the guys who came down under that caution now. 10 laps to go here at Texas for Blaine Keys in the 55, but Chase Buck is coming in the 32 machine. Got ourselves 10 laps to go here. It's going to be interesting to see who gets it done.
It would be something if Sabadio caught them, but he's so far back, I believe he would need a caution to get up in battle for this win, because, as we've said so many times, it's one thing to catch a driver, it's a whole other thing to pass them, and with so few laps remaining, even with the fresh tires as opposed to, well, these drivers who stayed out under that caution, it's definitely going to result in a result that Samadeo would have liked to be better. That's for sure. They chose the wrong strategy. He's 10.7 seconds behind the race leader right now.
He keeps closing in. He's fast, and he doesn't have any lap traffic in front of him. The problem is you'd have to pass everybody, and just like you said, one thing to catch a guy, it's another thing to pass him. So he's got the clean racetrack, but he's got to pass everybody, and there's no way he's going to be able to close that in with only 8 laps to go in this race. I was going to say something, and I completely forgot what it was that I was going to say. But it was important, and it was an interesting statistic, and I just don't know what it was. Maybe it'll come to me. But either way, Blaine Keys looking to get this one done here at Texas. And it's interesting, how the strategy played out. And this is what I wanted to say. That strategy rating in the pit crew could definitely be something that you guys think about as owners, because the pit crew ratings come into effect, and that strategy is one of those ratings you can adjust each week. And the strategy definitely came into effect here today more than anything. We're seeing a lot of guys who have not been up front that much this season run up front right now in this race. Dylan Matthews looking to get another top 3 and get another podium. He finished 3rd at COTA. Here he is now in the 3rd position again. And you got all these guys kind of bunching up. And Samadeo 8.17. I mean, he's gaining nearly a second a lap here, but I just don't know. If we were to get a caution at this point, we'd have maybe 1 or 2 laps to go, but we're closing in on the point of no return, and Blaine Keys is pulling away here from Chase Buck, trying to get this race free. Now, another driver who was in that first ever race, if I'm not mistaken, was Blaine Keys 8 years ago. That would be something if 8 years later he pulled it off on the anniversary of that first ever race. Been well over 1,000 races since Jesse Turner went to victory lane in that first Daytona 500 on April 1st, 2015. And Blaine Keys, I'm pretty sure was in that race that day, and here he is in this one at Texas with 4 laps to go to victory lane in the Wawa Cup Series. Chase Buck trying to close in. Dylan Matthews with a great run. Brad Stover, Brian Webb holding on to the last top 5 position. But Chris Reynolds, Trinity Ida's unfortunately a lap down as well. Not a good day for NS Racing. But Chris Reynolds is 7th. Aliera, great run for her as her teammate is leading. Daniel Paulus Jr.'s top 10 right now. Same with Joey Hightower. Great to see so many of these guys have good runs here today. 3 laps to go for Blaine Keys here in the Interstate Batteries 500 at Texas. And Nicholas Samadeo, he's 5 point. I mean, he is flying. He is flying out there, but it's just not enough time to catch up to that 55 at this point. And Samadeo may get a top 10, but I don't think he's got anything for this guy, Blaine Keys. 2 laps to go here at the Texas Motor Speedway for Jacoen Racing Enterprises.
I would say Blaine Keys pretty well has it locked up at this point, over 0.8 of a second ahead of Chase Buck. It's going to be a great points day for Buck. 7th in the championship coming in, 40 back from points leader Matt Tuck. Gained 3 spots in the points after COTA. He might eat away at the points lead a little more after this one. Blaine Keys, the Smooth Fest winner, coming around the corner looking for that white hanky.
1 lap to go here in the Interstate Batteries 500 at Texas for Blaine Keys. And Jacoen Racing Enterprises, Samadeo is coming, but not enough to get to the top 10 at this point. And what a strategy play out of these guys, staying out, and Blaine Keys did the rest of the work, getting around everybody else and getting off the pit lane faster than anybody else. And 8 years to the day of the first ever race on the channel, a race in which Blaine Keys ran in. He's going to go to victory lane in the Wawa Cup Series at Texas. Blaine Keys wins the Interstate Batteries 500. Chase Buck, Brad Stover, Dylan Matthews, and Chris Reynolds, the top 5. And I know all of those guys absolutely needed that one here today. in the Wawa Cup Series.
Absolutely wild race today here at Texas Motor Speedway, and Blaine Keys, wonderful to see him get another win on the channel. First points paying one of the year, I do believe, and it's a big win because, well, they say everything's bigger in Texas. We'll let you decide at home what y'all think of that. But a big win today for Blaine Keys, and it's definitely got to be a morale booster for that team after a difficult season since that Smooth Fest.
And 8 years ago, Blaine Keys officially finished in the 16th position in that Daytona 500. He was 15 positions higher here today with the W. That was a good race. That was a lot of fun. One caution here in this 84-lap race. That extra lap did not mean much. And Nicholas Samadeo, still a great run for him. I think of all those guys who came down the pit lane, obviously he was the best of all of them. He's not going to actually lose too much on the points. As a matter of fact, we thought Echo Evans-Ross could easily pull away and get a great run. She finished 31st. I mean, everything just went south after that caution came out. That completely messed everything up. But, that's what I was saying kind of earlier on. The strategy rating really came into play on the pit lane. We saw a lot of guys who have not had good runs yet this season, and we're obviously starting to see certain guys get good runs, but, Brad Stover, Brian Webb, Chris Reynolds, Joey Hightower, Daniel Paulus Jr. with a top 10. It's the first top 10 for Hightower. It's the first top 10 for Daniel Paulus Jr., I do believe. And Logan Williams was up front in this race, but he didn't finish top 10. But as a matter of fact, those are the only 3 full-time guys, or some of the 3 of the 5 who have yet to get a top 10 this season. Yes, because you have Fitzwater as well, who was on that same strategy. He couldn't really get as far, but he still finished 14th. I think that's his best finish of the season. They were all over the place in this one. I was surprised by the way this one played out. And Blaine Keys, I think, is a driver who started off the season very poor. I think there's a lot of bad luck, but I think the ratings might be going more towards his favor now, especially after this race victory. He obviously won the Smooth Fest earlier on. And Dracoan Racing Enterprises, a strong team with Blaine Keys and Allier. They got both of their drivers inside the top 10. And with this win, Blaine Keys puts himself in the wild card race, which, we're starting, I know we're 8 races in. We only got 12 races to go until the chase begins. So, you want to get that win and at least have a bit of a buffer there of the wild card battle. Take a look at the rest results right there once again. And Roberto Crown Jr., Fisher G, Christian Master, Cameron Gaggi all failed to finish there. He had a few guys in this race, like I said, the 8-year anniversary of the first ever race who were in this race here today, and one of those guys who was in that race 8 years ago won this one here today. How about that? Blaine Keys gets it done for Dracoan Racing Enterprises. Final thoughts on this race, Josh? And next week it's Bristol. Thoughts on this one, and then what are we going to see next week when we head to the world's fastest half mile?
Man, what a great race, wasn't that? I mean, a lot of strategy today, a lot of shuffling, and what a deserving winner. Blaine Keys played the strategy game right, as well did most of everybody up front. I mean, Sam Adio didn't quite get the strategy right, almost came back for a top 10. Great effort, though. Finished 4 seconds behind Keys, but very interesting one to say the least. And for the rest of the season, particularly, you said Bristol's next?
Bristol Krispy Kreme 500 next weekend, so that'll be good.
That is definitely going to be an interesting one for sure. I have to see how much the ratings come into play for that one. I think we're really starting to get to the point where they're really starting to show. I feel like they did at COTA 1 week ago, and we'll be interested to see how it works out for Bristol. But we've got some good stuff ahead for the rest of the season. I know that. It's been a heck of a start of the season. I can't wait to see how the rest of it goes.
It's going to be interesting. And I want to point this out. These are drivers who are in the first ever race. I know I'm talking a lot about it, but, it's a big deal, obviously. Christian Master finished second in that Daytona 500. We obviously mentioned Blaine Keys finished 16th that day. Zachary Fitzwater finished 9th in that race. And then we also had a couple of more drivers. Cameron Gaggi, who was in this race here today, finished 10th in that first ever race. And let's see, I don't know if we have any other guys who ran here today who were in that race. Of course, Jesse Turner won that first ever Daytona 500. And that was a while ago. Trey Bartow could have been in this race if he advanced on. He was in that first race as well, but that was it in terms of guys. And I got to say, I didn't even really think about it too much, that it was 8 years ago today that we ran the first official race on the channel. Obviously, we did a little bit in 2014 as well, but officially, this really all started, right there, April 1st, 2015, with that Daytona 500 and Jesse Turner winning the race. And here we are today, still kicking it, and I can't thank you guys enough. I would imagine at this point that the channel has hit 1,000 subscribers as well. Obviously, if that was the case, a separate video has been made on that. The time of us recording it, we were 2 away. I would think by now we're at that point, and it is amazing how much has changed in my life since then. But the great thing about it is that this is still just as fun as it was 8 years ago when we did that first race. And I think it's incredibly fitting that a driver who has been around since that point in time with Blaine Keys went on to win here today. I just can't thank you guys enough for being here with me. Almost a decade now. It's unbelievable. And, here's to many, many more. Thank you. That's all I got to say. I'm sure with the 1,000 subscriber video, assuming that has already happened, that I did a lot more thank yous there. But enough with that. Thank you guys so much again for watching here today, and we'll see you guys next weekend from the Bristol Motor Speedway for the Krispy Kreme 500. That's going to be a fun one next Saturday at noon Eastern Time. I think we got a lot of noon on Saturday coming up here. I think that's what it is. Of course, 2 weeks from now it's Martinsville at Friday night. That's going to be a fun race. But just a lot of great races coming up. We're getting to the point of the season where it's just good races. We got Bristol, which is going to be fascinating, Martinsville, then Talladega, and then my home track at Dover. I'm looking forward to all these races. And before you know it, we're going to be in the middle of June, the end of June, where we have the Chase cutoff, and I'll be going for a championship at Blaine Keys, maybe one of those guys. That's it for me. Here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series after 8 races. We'll see you guys next week from Bristol. A huge thank you to Josh Williamson for calling this race with me here today. And congratulations to Blaine Keys for getting the job done here in the Interstate Batteries 500 from Texas. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. And I will see you guys later.